Hi everyone, welcome to my course Learning of Python Programming. In this lesson, I am going to talk about loops in Python. The first one, the very famous and the general use, the loop used in Python is for loop. For loop is some important and famous loop that is used in Python day-to-day life. The for loop in Python differs from other programming language like C, Java, C++. In these languages, we define the iteration step and halting conditions. But in Python, for loop iterates over the item of any sequence. Either it is list or string, but the order is always preserved. Like the order of any item appears in the list or sequence, the same order it will be printed or it will be extracted if you want to print that sequence. Either sequence may be list, string or any character sequence. This is the for loop syntax in Python programming. Words is a type of list and it has three items: Python, programming and language. And the general syntax of for loop is for w in words. What does this do? Means if we iterates over the list, one object will be extracted, and the for loop iterates over the items at a times 1. In this for loop, w represents a single item at a time, and you can print that a single item in your print statement or whatever action you want to perform. Let's go to edit and see some examples of Python programming loop. In the first example, let us see the for loop for iterates over a list. This is a list. Word list has 3 items. And for define for loop, just write for w is just a represent a current object at a time when the loop iterates. In is used to check membership of any object that is exist in list or not. Words and then colon and this is your result. The first one is strings and this one is length of the string, and programming and this is length of the string. Let's see how do we do some simple for loop without any sequence. Suppose you generally want to print some tables or just print some numbers, then how can you do that if you do not have any sequence? In that case, Python provide a function called range. A range is used for print numbers in a given. If you want to print the number from 1 to 10, then in Python you can do for, like if you define x in range, and we can define, suppose we write here 10 and then just print x. See, this is your result, and notice that the value of x start from 0 and the last result 10 is excluded. Okay, so this is the range by default format. But how can you do changes from initial index? Suppose if you want to change the initial value from any numbers, whatever you prefer, in that case we use another format of range. A range also support 2 parameter. One parameter is starting index and next parameter for index for x in a range. And similarly, if you want to perform some action from your given starting positions and your ending position, in that case we use range function in Python with 2 parameter. And if you want to change the default changes increment of value, by default the increment value is 1, But if you want to change, then you can do. The next format of range function is we use three parameters. First parameter for starting index, second parameter for end index, and then third parameter is increment. Like this is the for loop, and the range functions is very useful to iterate over some numeric value or increment, decrement, whatever you want to perform. Python also has while loop. While loop is similar to for loop. If you have understood, we can do almost anything with for loop or with as well while loop. But the difference between for loop and while loop is that while loop check your condition before entering in the while loop body. This is the only difference, and almost all the things can be do with for both the loops. So this is two important concept of while loop and for loop in Python. And let's see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.